Hello, this is Michelle Garcia with Seattle Spiritual Foundation, and today we are interviewing the James Uberti author of the books Toxic Free Diet, and he has some children's books around that, as well as a new book we're going to share with you. And as I move through this interview, I want you to take into account your personal experience with what your depression and moods and life has felt like since the pandemic, and just kind of what kind of shifts could be in store with you, and what kind of positive outcome we can get from this metamorphosis of an experience of life that we allow to transform when we do our inner work. So thank you for joining us, and I'm really excited to have you learn and listen to James.
Thank you so much for having me and have me on your awesome podcast. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So, as you know, I've written many different books, and unfortunately, my most popular book is How to Reduce Anxiety, right? So I wanted to talk today on depression. I wanted to talk on drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and suicide. In fact, unfortunately, suicide, drug addiction, and depression, if not soon, will be the leading cause of death in this country. And I know that sounds crazy because the leading cause of death today is heart disease and also cancer, right? And it's no wonder, in doing my research for my fourth book, which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Fantastic.
Yes, I'm really excited to talk about it because it's a 3-step process that helps people overcome their self-sabotage.
Wow.
Right,
Okay.
and to reframe and reprogram their subconscious. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Fantastic.
But as I said, the leading cause of death in this country will soon be depression. And it's no surprise to me after doing the research why it is. First of all, the average person has up to 60,000 thoughts a day, right? Think about that for a second. That's a lot of thoughts. And unfortunately, a large percentage of those are negative, self-deprecating thoughts, right? They're beating themselves up because they don't have this or they don't have that. They want this, they don't want that, that kind of thing. Constantly beating themselves up. It's no wonder that we're hearing this noise 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, that we're not good enough, right? So think about that all day, every day, open 24/7, right? And in addition to that, we've lost the battle in our gut digestion. And what I mean by that is there's 100 trillion microbes duking it out for dominance in our gut, right? And it's good versus evil. And unfortunately, a large percentage of the population in the planet have lost that battle, right, to the bad gut bacteria. And just like every single cell organism on this planet, they want to do two things, right? They want to procreate and they want to mutate. And we're seeing that played out with COVID, right? The last couple, 3 years. We've seen it mutate, and what is it? We're up to the 4th name of the strain, right? Unfortunately, our gut bacteria has been around for hundreds of thousands of years, if not millions of years, procreating, mutating, and getting better, stronger. And so that's why we've lost the war, because, as I said, we've got 100 trillion microbes. In fact, we're more bacteria than we are human by a factor of 10 to 1, which is crazy, right? If you think about it. And so these gut bacteria have figured out a way to block serotonin, right? And if you don't know what serotonin is, it's our happy hormone, right? And so when we have negative thoughts all day long, we're beating ourselves up. Of course we're going to be depressed. And then add that off, we've lost that love and feeling. We don't have that hormone because our bacteria has suppressed it. And so we're depressed, right? No wonder people are going crazy, and we're seeing homicides go through the roof, and people are walking around half-cocked, ready to take someone out. I heard a story the other day on the news. I was shocked. Guy washed his car, right? Had his car washed. Guy in front of him used the windshield wiper and got water on his car. He got pissed, moved up to him, flipped him off, and basically shot the guy dead.
Oh no. So, James, what's the solution to all this? Because we're really big on solution. I want my viewers to be able to apply something to combat this so that we can make a difference toward not being a society that walks around in states of depression or negative
100%.
self-talk.
Right. So I do have a 3 simple step process. So the first step is basically you have to win your battle with your gut digestion, right? And so we have to focus and feed the good guys, right?
Probiotics? Prebiotics?
Correct.
Oh, I guess.
100%.
I'm a good teacher.
So as I said, unfortunately, we need about 30 grams of fiber per day, and the average person is getting 3 to 5. Right? That's what the good soldiers feed off of. So step number 2, as I said, to change a belief, you have to have a consistent thought over time. You have to be repetitive.
Okay.
Right?
Habitual. So I can't just do it once and then all of a sudden I feel amazing and I'm like, oh my gosh, James is right. Darn.
It will never work.
It's sort of like the one pill theory.
Right. It's like
fix it.
Your conscious brain saying you need to get off drugs, you need to lose weight, and your subconscious says, yeah, right. And so it runs the program and it says fail, right? Based on your preconceived notion of whether or not you think weight loss is hard and difficult, or getting off of drugs and being sober is difficult based on your experiences and your belief.
Rather than just allow yourself to have a new experience.
Correct.
We really do, though, create our own belief systems, and I'm a big firm believer in, create the life you want, manifest your heartfelt dreams, don't get set and stuck in old ideas, create new, So, so far that makes sense what you're saying, so, it would be easy for me to
follow the rules.
To share that with others, too, and,
right.
Allow the ripple effect.
Like I said, we're getting beat up every day, all day long. And so we need to take these simple steps. So step 1, again, take your gut back, win that war. We talked about step number 2 is a breathing exercise that I developed.
Really?
Right? So it's called HBT. Okay. And what it is, habitual, because your subconscious is habitual. In order to change a behavior, right? Alcoholism, drug addiction, and what happened, you have to be habitual in actually sending a message to yourself. Right. Of course, well, habit is saying something repetitively, right? A thought, whether it be a positive bias or a negative.
It's a practice, yes.
Correct.
I love it. Okay, so
the breathing technique, as I mentioned, we have, up to 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are beating us up, right? We're not good enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not tall enough. We're not rich enough. Right? We keep going over and beating ourselves up. So we have to change and disrupt that behavior and that pattern, right? So you do this every time that you have a negative thought, and that's going to be a lot, right? If you're talking 60,000 thoughts, most of them are negative, you better be doing this breathing exercise a lot. So every time.
This is more friendly than my trainer's idea. She had me wear a rubber band once and snap it, and I was like, you know what, that's it can be hurtful. But I have a really positive frame of mind today, and I have for years, thank God.
That's awesome.
So when I hear you say everybody, I'm like, not really. But I get that there is. I just have auto vigilance around, contrary action around that, and so let's hear how this works, because I will integrate it, because the more tools I have, the better, because I don't ever want to slide back into negative self-talk, because you're right, it's who wants to live depressed, who wants to be sluggish, who wants to not wake up excited about life? Not I.
100%. And I watched this talk the other day, and the speaker behind it had a big picture, and it was like a raffle ticket, right? It says admit one life. We only have one ticket.
Ooh, I love it.
Right? To take a ride on this amazing journey. Look, the odds of you being born in the richest country in the world are 400 trillion to 1.
Right.
Take this best life. Take control. Win back your life with these 3 simple steps.
And go anywhere in the world and feel like the richest person, because that's something from the inside out. Like feeling that you value about who you are and how you show up in the world is transportable anywhere. It's global. And I really love that.
Right. And you're 100% true. So the HBT rule is that every time you have to be committed and consistent with this, because that's the only way. And it's easy to do because we breathe anyways.
Okay.
Right?
Yay.
So anytime that you have a negative thought, right? Whether it's something stupid you did in your past, or a situation that you're entering in, or the fear of the future, whatever that thought is, I want you to think and breathe in, everything goes your way. I want you to think and breathe, everything goes your way. Through your nose.
Okay, so everything goes my way.
Right. And that's a very positive mantra, because when
I'm in the flow.
Because when you repeat that, what we're doing is we're sending a signal that everything does go your way, and that if you do this habitually over time, then you're going to start seeing a different perspective of things actually going your way.
So when you say your way, what does that really entail? Like, what does that mean to you when you thought that
Sure.
mantra up?
So everything going my way is that parking spot, the job, the situation, my life
In the
is
flow.
right.
Yeah.
You're in balance. Everything is for you, not to you, right?
Yeah.
Life happens for you. And when you do this constantly, and we're going to talk about the third rule, that is very powerful 10 words that you say through manifesting and practicing from a state of gratitude. And
Nice.
I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. Can I grab that? Thank
And
you.
so the third step, and so what we're doing is, again, we're focusing.
Wait, so can we do it as an exercise? This is I like to be,
Hands-on.
experiential.
Okay. Sure.
Experiential is that where it's at. So let's do it. So we take a deep breath in through the nose.
So I want you to think of air as everything going your way. You breathe in aggressively
Everything's
through
going
your
my way.
nose.
So in my mind's eye, I'm going to say, everything's going my way.
And then you're going to exhale anything that doesn't serve you, any stupid mistakes you made in your past, any fear or uncertainty or any stressful situations in your present,
I'm holding
and any
it.
fear in your future.
Okay.
Let it out.
Ah.
And you had a saying once that I heard on your podcast, let it go and let it God.
Yes.
Right? And I love that because
It's
it's
a
as
friendship.
easy as breathing in, everything goes your way.
Yeah.
And look, we live in a perpetual state of fear and anxiety. This is how the
Yes.
average person breathes. And I'm going to tell you something. I've seen it in my practice. Look, this is how we breathe.
So shallow, I know.
Right?
So I do breath work. I was a professional. I breath work facilitate, and I'm going to tell you the fact that you've integrated this as a second step is probably one of the most powerful things you could have done. Because honestly, hands down, some of the most amazing work I personally have done on a cathartic level, and that I've been able to share with people who are ready for it, is breath work.
Right.
And that's a form of breath work. And to be able to integrate it into your day real easy like that, with a
Easy.
mantra that's very positive.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to bring clarity around it, because it's really important to think about the thoughts that you're going to now channel into your existence,
Right.
essentially, right? Like really embody it. And it's very user friendly. As
Well, you're going to do it a lot. I mean, think about it. So 80% of our thoughts are negative. You better be doing this breathing. So here's
and
biology.
it's oxygen to the brain, right? It's oxygen to the cells regenerating. So,
100%. So
there's no not win about that.
So here's what's happening behind the scenes, right? So when you do this chant or mantra or breathing technique, right, here's what's happening. As we said, we live in a perpetual state of oxygen deprivation. And when cells don't have oxygen, they die. Very simple, right? The other thing is that interesting study that I researched, when we breathe through our nose, it increases nitric oxide by 15 to 20%. Nitric oxide is essential for all life in your heart, in your blood work. And here's what it does. It sets your subconscious, repetitive thoughts over time creates a belief, right? Everything goes my way. So as I'm seeding my subconscious with this positive reinforcement bias, then guess what? Over time, everything will go your way simply because that 95% of all reality is on autopilot.
And it's perception. If I can perceive that even in the adverse situations that happen, it is exactly what's meant to be, there's a beauty in that and a flow. It's still not something that I have to be resistant about, and I don't waste energy foolishly.
Right.
And I want to add to that actually, oxygen is, incredibly empowering and regenerating, but it also, like you kind of touched on, it gives life to you. New
Right.
life.
I mean-
And we actually give our power away when we breathe wrong. So when you learn how to breathe right, you're not giving your power away anymore. That shallow breath that you were just speaking to actually gives power away. And people don't know that. Like it's like not like you go to school and people, but that only happened centuries ago. I'm sure back in the day when we were hunting and doing more physical things to get, needs met, that wasn't so. And so we have things so ready easily. It's a swipe away on Amazon that
So true.
people are just not utilizing their oxygen capacities to rejuvenate and recharge their lives, right? Their bodies, their beings, their temple, whatever you want to call it. It's everything, you know, because everything is life. And, you know, we get to create what we want with it. So that's really, really good stuff to be mindful of. It's like now I'm relearning how to gain my power and be empowered from the inside out, and then I can create whatever I want in this life.
Right. So I've been practicing this breathing technique for months. And it's interesting, when you do this, when you're committed to it, when you're consistent with it, shit starts to show up and you change your perspective.
Yay.
Right? You start seeing parking spots, you start seeing green lights, and I want you to focus on my next step, right? And that next step is living in a perpetual state of gratitude, and I call it gratitude glass.
Wow. Okay, love
right?
it. Love it.
So it's magnifying before you go to bed. So step one, win your battle,
Yes.
right? Put probiotics in your body, feed your good guys, win that war back, start increasing, upregulating, obviously, serotonin.
One more question with the probiotics and prebiotics. Is there suggestions? Because I know there's so many different probiotics and prebiotics out there. It's almost like, oh, do I get the refrigerated one? Do I not get the refrigerated one? Do I get this label? Do I get that label? Do I get the women's one? Goes to the men's one? Oh, and it can get really expensive, and I don't mind paying if I know it's good, but who knows? So, what can you give insight to our viewers about that? Because I know you're a nutritionist and you know your stuff when it comes to this.
So thank you for that question, because it is a struggle on which ones to pick, right? So the best ones to pick, and this is so profound, and it comes down to two things: the delivery methodology, on whether it's acid resistant or a dual capsulation technology. And why is that? Well, because look, everything we put in our mouth goes through our gut. And we have hydrochloric acid in our gut for a reason, and it kills 97% of all bacteria, including the probiotic. So you're really wasting your money with expensive ones or inexpensive. Look for acid-resistant probiotics. Look for a high number of CFU, which is colonizing forming units. And here's the key, right? Or a dual delivery system, right?
So it's like
dual
double
encapsulated.
shelled, dual encapsulated. So by the time it gets to where it needs to do the handiwork, it hasn't gotten eaten up and diminished.
Killed off by acid, right? And it gets to where it needs to go, right?
Okay.
And so this dual encapsulation, I want you to
It'll
think.
say it on the bottle, right?
Correct.
Dual
So
encapsulated. Okay.
acid resistant dual encapsulated technology.
Do you
right?
have any that people can purchase from your website?
I do, actually.
Okay.
I do.
Well, that makes it easy.
So I will give you that URL at the end,
Okay.
right? So, as I said, we want to deliver the good guys to where they're needed most, right? And there's actually a probiotic that I recommend that actually uses this technology called phase technology, or FOS, I believe is how they correctly pronounce it. And what it is, it's like hand grenades for the little probiotics, because you're sending in the soldiers, the troops, to kick some butt, right? And so these are really powerful techniques, or delivery systems and types of probiotics. Lastly, what you want to do is you want to take probiotics for 30 days on and 30 days off.
Oh, interesting.
Or you want to take probiotics after taking an antibiotic, right?
Oh, right, because, yeah. But so is it because the body becomes, you don't want it to become too reliant?
Or resistant. And again, you
Or
want,
resistant, okay.
look, bottom line is this. Reason why we call a supplement is to top off whatever we don't have, right? So I take vitamin D3 when I'm not in the sun. I top off what I didn't require, right, for that day.
Yeah.
So you want to rest, because 30 days is a good amount of time to really kind of fertilize your gut with the good guys, right? And then you want to alter it 30 on, 30 off, and then go for multiple different brands and strands.
You know,
strains.
I've just never heard this before, but it makes sense. It's
And-
like with food, you're supposed to, change it up according to how you feel and what's in season, perhaps, and then, just not getting too reliant on anything, or else you handicap your body.
100%. And so the reason why we want to choose strands is the same reason why we have 100 trillion microbes in our gut. The more different varieties, the better, healthier we're going to feel, right? As opposed to just staying on one brand. You've got like 7
Like
or 12
eating one
different
food,
strains.
you
Correct.
you eat.
So just be mindful of that.
All right, good,
So
good.
third step. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so third step is essentially live in a perpetual state of gratitude.
Yay! I love it.
Because it's been proven that negative bias actually downregulates certain genes that causes us to promote weight gain, obesity, and disease. It turns off our immune system. Stress.
I believe it, and it holds weight too. You can't
100%.
You can't release weight. I tell people, like, when they're trying to release weight, you know, you gotta just let it go because you're gonna hold it on. It's like funny. It's like metaphysical. You know, you literally like hold on to it.
And so you do this practice at night before you put your head to bed, right?
Yeah. Okay, how's it go?
And here's how it works. So right before you go to bed, I want you to think of all the things that went right in your day and all the blessings that you have that are currently in your life. And I say this to my clients all the time. I say this, look, those sheets, I want you to moan for a second and just be grateful that you have sheets. You want to be grateful for your sheets? Sleep without them one night and let me know how that goes, right? You want to be grateful for your bed? Sleep on the floor. Let me know how that goes, right? Now that we're experiencing a heat wave here in the next couple of days.
I'm like, that might not be so bad.
120 degrees. Try going without your air conditioning for a night. And I guarantee you, your next night. Look, 1 billion people on this planet have to go dig a ditch to take a dump.
I know.
Right?
It's tough.
I want you to appreciate the littlest things in your life and blow them up and magnify them, right? Because when we live in this perpetual state, and we call it vibration, right? Because we know that energy like attracts like, the law of attraction. And so when we are grateful, guess what? We get more of what we're grateful for and more abundance comes into our life when we focus on gratitude.
I concur. And honestly, like, this is going to be an easy one because I do it every night as a ritual. And, you know, I try to change it up to different, try to find different things is the key for me to be grateful for. So it's new, just anything.
100%. The conversation you had, the smile from someone, you know, the littlest thing, blow them up and continue to blow that up, because what you're doing is you're seeding your subconscious again at the most critical point. Because look, Thomas Edison said it best. He says, do not ever lose the opportunity to make a request to your subconscious before you go to bed. Period. I want you to listen to that.
I love
Never give up the opportunity to make a request at night and manifest what it is that you want. And here's the most powerful words that I've researched. It's a prayer, it's a mantra. It will actually give you anything that you're suffering with, addiction, whatever it is that you want, better boyfriend or a better whatever, right? And this is the 10 most powerful words. You ready?
I'm ready.
Thank you for showing me that this issue has been solved.
Love it.
Thank you for showing me that the issue has been solved.
Okay.
And so when you repeat this is what the subconscious is listening to. If it's drug addiction or alcohol addiction, you're living in a perpetual state of gratitude before you go to bed. You're creating more abundance. And whatever it is that you want to focus on, more money, better job, right? Poverty is an issue. And I don't want you to ever call a problem, right? It's an issue that you've solved already, because now it's in your past. Because we often say, I want to be, you know, alcohol free or drug free. That's admitting that you have a problem, right? And so when you say, thank you for showing me that this problem or issue is resolved, and you say that, and basically you're living in a perfect state of in your past.
Yeah, like, right? So sometimes I have people reframe things in therapy and say in the past rather than as if it's an and now, but because we're owning it as is. And, you know, to affirm anything negative is not self-serving. I also want to touch on, like, one of the other things I learned that was in alignment with what you're talking about is reviewing my day and thinking about what I did that could have been better, but just not drifting into remorse or reflection, but just what could I have done instead. You know, it's a more positive way of reviewing, because I always also, I don't want to just like, oh, everything's great, and then like not acknowledge, but also where can I grow, and you know, what can I do differently next time, you know, because being positive and solution based is really where it's at for me today, and I want to grow, I want to evolve, really that's it, and at the end of the day, like that's where it's really at. Like that's what really brings, enlightenment, brings like the sense of joy that we get to share, and it just like the ripple effect is beautiful.
Right. And it's perfect analogy how you describe that. But in order to win the day, you must win the night. And so in order to win the night, right, you have to go to bed with gratitude and figure out what it is that you need to do tomorrow, right? And how well tomorrow is going to be. And repeat these things. So let's just summarize what we just talked about,
Okay.
right?
All right.
So number one, we need to win our battle with actually serotonin suppression, right? By feeding our
Yes.
gut. Number two, we repeat that mantra every time we have a negative situation or a thought that's in our past, in our future, or the present. We need to think everything goes my way, and it will if you do this. If you're committed, right, and you're consistent, I guarantee you I will give you anything and everything. I promise you this works 100%. You can have whatever it is that you want if you're willing to put the work on and be consistent and develop positive bias over time. Creates a new belief. That's why I'm naming my book Bitch Slap Your Subconscious, simply because you have to be habitual in repeating what it is that you want to change. And so thank you for showing me that everything has been solved.
It's like a brainwash, a good brainwash.
Well, it's a positive,
you're washing your own brain with
It's a-
some positive reinforcement. I like it. I like it a lot.
So it's thank you for showing me that this issue has been solved. If you're suffering from a debilitating autoimmune disease, I have a client that she eats clean, she avoids all chemicals and processed foods, but her negative bias, her belief is that she will always be diseased. She has a negative bias problem or a belief problem. As I said, belief can kill you or heal you, right? We see that all the
Your
time.
thoughts can become your reality, and
Well, they are,
yeah,
right?
so
And
I
so
just
now I
really
tell her this, and I tell all my clients this, and I'll end with this. And this is, look, don't talk about your issues at all. Don't give it breath. And the reason for that is because when you talk about it, when you speak about it, what you're doing is that you're giving it validity and energy. And more times that you talk about it, I had an elbow problem, and I kid you not, I practiced this mantra. Thank you for showing me that this issue has been resolved. And I honestly have to say it's 100%. I'm not saying this is hyperbole or whatever that word is, but it works. It's powerful because what I'm doing is saying it's in my past, and your biology always, always, always backs up your belief.
So let me ask you something, James. What inspired you to write this book, and like what propelled you to come up with these particular tools in these orders the way they have, and have you practiced them, and what was your experience in doing so?
Sure. It's a personal story, and I have no problem sharing it with you, that during the pandemic, I lost both my businesses. All source of income was gone, and everyone was depressed during the pandemic. And I had suicidal thoughts, right? Because I'm an entrepreneur, and I pretty much weight all my existence, and most of my self-esteem was based on my businesses, right? And it took it all away from me. And TikTok and the government saved my life during the pandemic because I was bored, and I would sit in my bed because I couldn't afford my cable, right? And so I would scroll on TikTok, and I started coming across some of these principles, right? And like you said earlier, hitting rock bottom, right, is when usually you make big changes. And I was like, look, I either can get busy living or get busy dying, right? And I chose living, and so the government blessed this country because I was able to do food stamps. They did some rental aid. I unfortunately did become homeless, and I was evicted, and I was at my rock bottom. And so I wanted to reach out, and I started practicing these mantras like you wouldn't believe.
Wow.
Every day, every night, like a religion, like a prayer. And I was literally saying this: I want to be a multimillionaire, which was one of my things. And it was hard to say because I had $26 in my bank account, right? And I was uncomfortable saying that as one of my manifestations. Like I said, don't lose the opportunity to request something to your crazy, crazy, crazy on how well this works and how many times I had to say, stop it. It was that successful in my life. Opportunities started presenting themselves because my perspective changed. Because I went from a negative bias to a very positive one through practice, right? And repeating these night after night. I would not miss going to bed without saying my manifestations and being grateful for the littlest things, right?
Yeah.
The littlest things like food and shelter and a toothpaste on toothbrush, just the littlest things. And you blow that stuff up and things start to show up. I got my dream job working as a director in a wellness center, doing body sculpting and contouring, right? And I play a doctor at work, even though I'm not a doctor, but I am living, and money is just being thrown to me.
Beautiful.
Like left and right, because I put that out there in the universe. And I know it sounds hokey and pokey, but it's amazing on how well it works if you're committed, like your life and your breath. Like I said, we need air, water, oxygen, and we need a positive bias. And you can change your life forever if you do these 3 simple steps. And I've been doing it and practicing it. And you asked a question, well, how did I develop all these things?
Yeah.
I've always done in my past books, and whenever I cook something, right? I'm a trained chef, right? Plant-based chef. And I always take something, and I'm always constantly saying, how do I make this better, right? What do I add to that? And so that's how I developed this new technique process of the 3 steps. I've listened to YouTube a million times on manifestations, how to attract money, fame, fortune, whatever it is that you want and desire. It's easy to get off drugs. It's easy to be happy. You just have to be willing to commit like I did.
So, I don't know, any last message you want to give? It's been a bit, I know people can only listen for so long, but
Sure.
so much good information.
Yeah.
What would you like to leave the viewers with?
Sure. So you can reach out to me on Amazon. My name, James Uberti, Uberti, or Facebook. And also, if you're available or if you're open, I'm happy to take people on as clients as life coaching, or what I like to call lifestyle coaching, because it's basically nutritional psychiatrist is what I am. Because without nutrition, we don't have that good gut bacteria, right? And without nutrition, we don't have proper amounts of serotonin. And so, and then through the practices and the belief and through these techniques and the 3-step rule, you have to reprogram and reframe your positive bias.
Difference for them too.
And one of the things that was profound that I said to one of your clients on the phone is that helping others helps yourself.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And it's so true, because I'm helping others, but really who I'm really helping is myself, because I'm practicing and teaching and preaching these principles, but I'm really getting the benefit. And look, this career path that I picked isn't the highest paid, but it's the most rewarding, right? When I hear testimonies like you. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure.
It makes me feel amazing.
Pleasure. Well, that concludes our segment of Guru Garcia's Spiritual Foundations insight on how to evolve and what to do to learn more and be your best you. Have an amazing rest of your day.